You're listening to the Night Demon Network. Go to nightdemon.net/subscriber to unlock more exclusive content.
Hello and welcome to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast. I'm your host, Nesbit, and today we're going to dive back into the Heavy Metal Mixtape. So if you missed the first two parts, I highly recommend you go back and listen to them. But the Heavy Metal Mixtape is a compilation compiled by Night Demon and released in October of 2015, limited to 666 copies. It's actually more than just a compilation. It's also a tribute to the lost art of making mixtapes. We've been going through track by track, and today we're going to continue on with our dive into these songs and bands. This is Heavy Metal Mixtape. So we covered the first 6 songs on this mixtape by Night Demon, Riot, Blade Killer, Bat, Raven, and Spellcaster. So starting off this episode, coming out of track 6 and into track 7. And we get an audio clip or a sample. So when I say this compilation is keeping the spirit of mixtapes alive, this is part of what I mean. I remember making dozens of mixtapes and timing the sides out. You always needed a few good short songs to pad out sides. You know, you throw a Ramones song on or like something like Sabbath, Embryo, or a little instrumental parts. You know, sometimes you'd add a snippet from a movie or a funny sound clip or a comedy bit in between songs. That's what Night Demon has done here on side A of this mixtape. And I find that, I find it really cool. Making a mixtape like this on cassette, it seems like it has more meaning to me than like a regular compilation. And maybe that's my age and maybe it's nostalgia. I don't know if someone half my age would care at all about these kind of things, but maybe it's the age I grew up in. But something about a mixtape and a cassette seems more valuable. I don't know if that's the right word for it. But I don't know. Like people say playlists are the new mixtapes. And I kind of disagree with that. A playlist is kind of disposable. You know, you can drag and drop a bunch of files or a bunch of streaming tracks into a playlist in a few minutes. With a cassette tape, when you're making a mixtape, there's no dragging and dropping. It's hours of work to create a good mixtape. And I guess I kind of feel like when you put that much work into it, it creates something more meaningful and I guess permanent. And again, maybe it's just my age. I don't know. I also feel like with a cassette, there's no skipping tracks. Whoever makes the mixtape sets it up and you press play and you kind of go for a ride. And that's why the flow and the sequencing of a cassette tape is so important. Unlike a playlist, you can just hit shuffle. There's thought and care put into the order and the momentum that the mix has. Here's a clip from Jarvis.
The idea here was to compile this in a way where it flowed, where, we actually listened to the songs that these bands were giving us and took a lot of time to really put it in a sequential order that took the listener on the correct journey. Now, it's kind of tough because we're not there writing the songs to dictate that, but I do remember it even came down to some of these songs I personally chose when I would approach the bands and say, hey, we're looking to get this song. And some of this stuff we had to deal with record companies, so we had to do licensing agreements to get the rights. I mean, the bands didn't even have the right to even tell us yes or no. So, but we worked around it, and really it's crazy that people are still talking about this compilation, and we're really, really proud not only to be on the comp, but to be able to curate it for the scene. And I'm really happy to still be talking about it today.
I don't know. Am I crazy? I just feel like a mixtape undoes a lot of the instant gratification that people are dependent on these days. You don't just listen to 30 seconds of a track and hit next. It sort of forces you to give the tracks, a real chance. And I'm not one of those people that thinks cassettes or vinyl sound best. I think digital is way better in almost every way, except for one, and it's a really important thing about, physical media, is it makes you pay attention to your music. Something about having a physical copy of something like this, putting it on, not skipping or shuffling. It's what I like about vinyl, too. I'm not one of those vinyl people who tell you that vinyl sounds better, but it's 10 times more fun, infinitely more fun, to handle an album and flip it and engage with it than just to shuffle some playlist on some streaming platform. So, I don't know, maybe I'm just old and nostalgic and rambling. If someone makes me a playlist, which actually happened a good few times when I had my old Iron Maiden podcast on the go, people would send me these Spotify playlists, and I'd listen to it, but it wasn't the same. It wasn't like someone giving you a mixtape. I don't know, but it's not just me. Here's Dusty.
I would think anybody who was born around the time that we were, early to mid 80s, you had that introduction to the tape world and mixtapes in general. It's really how a lot of people found out about bands. So really useful. It's just crazy, to see us go from the tape world to compact discs to, streaming. Well, I guess vinyl would start it. Vinyl, then tapes, then CDs, then it turned into downloads and streaming. So it's come a long way, but mixtapes are always cool, and it's really great to see that tapes are still around. Growing up, you always end up getting a mixtape from somebody. Heavy metal mixtapes from some of my dad's friends would hook me up with that stuff, when they found out that his kid was into metal. They're like, oh, he's into metal? I'll give him this tape. I remember having one that had a bunch of Black Sabbath and Metallica and Anthrax and Slayer. That was pretty much my first introduction to the heavier bands other than the hair metal.
Anyway, enough of me blabbering about outdated technology and how much I love it. You're probably yelling at your speakers now to get to the music. So we were talking about sound clips and samples in mixtapes. So next up on the Heavy Metal Mixtape, we get this sample.
You guys know what that song's about? It's about aliens.
All right, so that is Pickford from the movie Dazed and Confused, which is a classic movie. That's a small sample from a really great scene. That whole scene is just amazing. So I got a real kick out of hearing that first time I heard the mixtape.
The next sample, the Dazed and Confused sample, aliens, man. Yeah, funny enough, Brent chose this. Brent chose most of the samples on this. I mean, I think he just came with a handful of them, and they were all good. I think I might have had a hand in directly picking a few of them myself. But, I mean, obviously we agreed on everything together, but he really came to the table with a lot of these. And this one was really cool. Just the movie Dazed and Confused, I mean, it's got a place close to my heart for sure. That movie was filmed in Austin, Texas, and every time we go to Austin, our fans and listeners know that we have a long-standing history there, but Sean always takes us out to this barbecue place called Styles Switch, and it's a great barbecue restaurant, and it actually is in the shopping center that the Emporium is in. The Emporium is a building in the movie Dazed and Confused where they dropped the paint on O'Bannon's head, Ben Affleck's character, where the pool hall is. And it's just cool to eat in there and just to kind of see those buildings next to each other. And I think they have a plaque in that shopping center too, commemorating that movie was shot there and stuff. But nonetheless, it's a great classic film.
Yeah, a clip from Dazed and Confused. Classic movie for my group of friends anyway. I must have seen that movie at least a dozen times. We used to quote it all the time. We're the aliens, man. We're the savages. Anyway, after that track, after that sample, we get We Are the Wolves by Walpurgis.
We are the ones who wield the wild upon the earth. We are the ones who want the worst. We watched in shadows as we saw the birth of time, and we love watching it unwind. You need a dream to seek secrets that we keep. We could destroy you if we please. The time has come to lead you all upon a myriad dances. We are the wolves, we are the wolves. We love the moon and we hate the sun. And when you're fading in the light, we want your world because we are the wolves.
Man, what a great song. That's a super, super catchy chorus. So Walpurgis, they're an American metal band from Raleigh, North Carolina. So they were formed in 2012. This song is from their first EP, which is also available on cassette. So I got this from their website. It says, Walpurgis was formed in 2012 in Raleigh, North Carolina to write, record, and perform hard rock, heavy metal music. They're influenced by Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden, Old Slayer, the Ramones, the Scorpions, the writer H.P. Lovecraft, and their environment. So that's their bio from their website. So this sounded like something that would be right up my alley. I checked out their full-length debut album from 2017. It's called Walpurgis Nights. It's pretty awesome. You can even get a version that is on black vinyl that comes with a 56-page comic book. So that's pretty cool. Here's Jim Hunter from Walpurgis.
This is Jim Hunter, and I play bass in the band Walpurgis. I'm a big fan of heavy metal compilation records, the classic Metal Massacre series, Lead Weight, the Neat Records compilation, Doomsday News, the Noise Records compilation series, Metal from Mothers. The song Walpurgis contributed to the compilation is called We Are the Wolves. It's one of our more up-tempo songs, kind of in the vein of Iron Maiden, Flash of the Blade, that kind of jam. So crank it up and bang your head.
We are the wolves, we are the wolves. We love the moon and we hate the sun. And when you're fading in the light, we want your world because we are the wolves. You went to sleep and woke to see a sky of red. It was the dawning of the dead. We watched in shadows and enjoyed a blackish land. Only you see
So We Are the Wolves, that's a pretty cool song. Here's something I read in an interview with Walpurgis guitarist Scott Waldrop. He says, the lyrics are about ancient inhuman beings who watch civilizations come and go. It was originally called We Are the Ones, but my wife misunderstood my demo vocals, and I heard her sing We Are the Wolves around the house, and I was like, that's it, that's way cooler. I think I agree. We Are the Wolves is way cooler.
Walpurgis, this is another amazing song. Another one of my favorite tracks off this comp, and by one of my favorite singers, Johnny Ann. This band came out of the ashes of a band called Twisted Tower Dire. They hail from the North Carolina / Virginia area. There's a big scene out there for traditional metal and thrash, kind of there below the Mason-Dixon line. I guess technically in the South. And we've spent a lot of time touring out there and made friends with all these bands. But the singer for Twisted Tower Dire passed away in a motorcycle accident, very sadly. They were much more of an epic band with him singing for their first couple records. Then they came out with a record called Make It Dark with their new singer, Johnny Ann, who is, he's one of my favorite singers around in the scene these days. And so when this band started, kind of from the ashes of that, there was it's very incestuous, the scene out there, as far as a lot of the bands have a lot of the same members, just probably because of, just there not being as many people around that are good players and good musicians and into the same kind of metal. So that's very understandable. But a lot of members from TTD were in this band, and this is just a really, really good song. I always like how both Twisted Tower Dire and Walpurgis, I just really like the way that the rhythmic quality of both those bands and the note progression that they use. It's not very traditional, and it's not predictable, and that's why I like it.
So great song. That was track number 7 on the mixtape. The Heavy Metal Mixtape, that is. Walpurgis also played Frost and Fire Festival 3 on October of 2017. So that's a little Night Demon tie-in. So on to the next track, and it's Hyrax. And it's another great song, and you might notice a pattern here that I love almost all of these songs so far. I guess that's partly due, again, to this being a cassette mixtape. It's playing on a cassette. If you don't immediately love something, you don't hit skip. You play it through and you get to know the songs, and a lot of them really grew on me after a few listens. So another benefit to the non-skippable medium of cassette tapes. I'm almost sure that a bunch of these tracks would have never made an impression on me if this was a Spotify playlist, but it's a cassette. The songs get a chance to really grow on you. Although this next track is actually one that really grabbed me on first listen. Hyrax, Hellion Rising.
Now it hurts. Immortally shakes the earth, hellbringer of death and destruction to the dead. The reckoning's begun, the wrath has been unleashed, the witching hour's here. Scorching the world, no mercy, dark holy war. Where the angels fly, the hellion rises.
I love that intro. It's another track on this compilation by some metal legends. So Hellion Rising, it's like a full-on, I don't know, thrash assault. And the vocals are what do it for me. They're really powerful. It's Keaton DePenna, and he has an unbelievable voice.
Hellbringer of death and destruction to the dead. The reckoning's begun, the wrath is gonna unleash, the witching hour's here. Scorching the world, no mercy, God, holy war. Where the angels fly, the hellion rising. Where the angels fly, the hellion rising. Massive annihilation, the killing of God's high priest, catastrophic deadly power from his hands. The reckoning's begun, the wrath is unleashed, the witching hour's here, scorching the world, no mercy, God, holy war. Where the angels fly, the hellion rising. Where the angels fly, the hellion rising. Hellion rising, out to the east, out of hell and the apocalypse, now in hell.
So Hyrax, California thrash. They're formed in 1984. They broke up in 89. They're reunited again in 2000, and they've been on the go ever since. This track is from Immortal Legacy, which is an album they released in 2014.
Hyrax. So these guys, I guess you can consider them a legendary California thrash band, although they don't really have a standout release. Unless you're a total thrash metalhead, you probably won't know who they are. Their logo is pretty classic. It's been circulated a lot. And Keaton DePenna, the singer of the band, has just been a stalwart in the scene. He DJs a lot at clubs and at shows. And I mean, really, he's been in a lot of metal documentaries and stuff like that. He has an unmistakable look and a presence. And that's kind of most what they're known for, not for any specific song. But this was another thing. They had just put out a record. I mean, first record in a long time. And the records that they put out in the 80s, like I said, they're not very well known. And I think they had an EP that was kind of like the farthest that the thing that was they were most known for musically. So not really a solid full length. So for them to put out a record after all these years was kind of a big deal for people. And this was another one that SPV Steamhammer had put out. So this was part of the trifecta deal for Riot 5, Raven, and Hyrax for me to get this song on here.
So Hyrax, yet another legendary metal band on the Heavy Metal Mixtape. Here's Lance Harrison from Hyrax.
Hey, hello there. This is Lance Harrison from Hyrax, lead guitars. Been kicking ass for a really long time with these guys. 2006. And Heavy Metal compilations, I think they're pretty cool. We've got a lot of them out there. And the song Hellion Rising was one of the first 4 songs we wrote for Immortal Legacy. And it actually gave us a really clear indication of the area we were headed into, which was going to be pretty brutal and kick-ass metal. One cool fact about Hellion Rising is I'm trading off solos with Juan Garcia from Agent Steel, Evil Dead, and now Body Count. So that was pretty cool. I had already done my solo tracks, and then Juan came in and just ripped me to pieces. And I really wanted to try to redo my stuff, but I figured I can't touch him anyway. Anyway, yeah, crank this one up. Hellion Rising. It's a badass track.
On October 31st, 2015, Night Demon released Heavy Metal Mixtape. This collection of underground heavy metal was released on 666 hand-numbered limited edition cassettes. It sold out in nearly a week. Since then, many people have scoured the internet and paid insane prices to get a copy of this tape. Now in 2021, it is near impossible to find a copy new or used of Heavy Metal Mixtape. Until now. Night Demon has opened the vault and released a handful of original factory-sealed heavy metal mixtapes. These are available for subscribers only. For those of you who are late to the game, head over to nightdemon.net/subscriber. Sign up and head over to the subscriber-only store to get your copy of Heavy Metal Mixtape while they still left.
This is charged and he's ready to go. Swings his axe with one fatal blow. You look at horror and you start to break. Nothing left to do but just try to get away.
This next song should be familiar to a lot of you Night Demon fans. Evil Like a Knife by Midnight. So Midnight, I've heard them described as sleaze rock, black speed metal. I don't know what you call them. They're from Cleveland, Ohio, formed in 2002 by vocalist, guitarist, bassist, and drummer Athenar. He's kind of the one-man force behind Midnight.
This is Athenar from the heavy metal outfit Midnight. And Midnight is all about stupidity, ignorance, and whatever you want it to be about, actually. It's up to you. It's up to you, the listener, to decide what it's about. Not me, the arrogant front man. But my thoughts about heavy metal compilations are usually pretty good ones. That's some of my favorite records are compilation albums, be it the all original type all unique songs specifically to the compilations, kind of like the Metal Massacres or Speed Metal Hells or Thrash Metal Attacks or Heavy Metal Heroes, Lead Weight, things like that. It's a really good way to get turned on to a new band that you might not have known about. Anyway, so yeah, compilations are a fantastic way, in my opinion, to get turned on to new and exciting bands.
Evil, 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 like the night. Evil like a knife.
And the song that we put on the Heavy Metal Mixtape that Jarvis put out was Evil Like a Knife, which he decided just to take that tune from an album, and which was I think a good choice, because it's the opening track off of our album, and kind of lets you know what we're all about in a way. So, but again, that's up to you. I would say listen to some compilation albums, listen to some mixtapes, make your own mixtapes, and enjoy yourself. Pleasure for yourself.
Evil Like a Knife. So, obviously, Night Demon fans know that we love this Midnight track because we covered it on the Live Darkness live album and had Athenar from the band actually come and sing it with us. In the fall of 2014, we played at the Empire Club in Akron, Ohio. That was our very first show in the state of Ohio, and Athenar from Midnight came out and saw the show, and he gave me a CD after the show, and it was the No Mercy for Mayhem album. And man, when I put that thing on and heard this track, this was it. I mean, there's a few other tracks on that CD that I really, really like. The intro of that album is really good too. But this is the one that I kind of identified with the most, and really kind of this was the one that kicked me off into the music of Midnight, where I kind of always heard in my head how this band would sound with clean singing, and that's kind of where the idea for Night Demon to do this track basically spurred.
So this song is a real favorite with Night Demon and Night Demon fans. And musically, I love it, but I'm not that into the style of vocals. It's not something I'm generally into. I do absolutely love the riffs and the guitar fills all the way through this. And it's cool to have a track like this on there. Like, again, we're getting a huge mix of styles and types of metal on this compilation, and it keeps it interesting. So Night Demon covered this song with Athenar on the Live Darkness album, which was much more my speed.
You guys still with us out there tonight? That's what I'm fucking talking about. We would like to bring up a special guest right now from the very depths of Cleveland hell. Please welcome, from the band Midnight, Athenar!
Thank you very much, Tom.
So we know we're here for the holidays to bring a bunch of good Christmas cheer and all that shit. Which we do that, you know. We're good fucking people, right?
All the time, not just in December. That's fucking lame. Don't donate during December. Do it during June and all the other months that exist. Metalheads are good people, but sometimes we're fucking evil. Like a fucking knife!
So anyway, yeah, that was kind of cool that they would do that. It's always a, what do you want to call it? Maybe a humbling thing, or someone that would even give a shit enough to cover a song that you just made up. You know, they did the song at the Beachland Ballroom, where they recorded their Live Darkness album, which was a very memorable gig. You can feel that you were there by listening to that live album. You can tell that it was a good gig. You can pretend you were there. If you just put like a nasty open can of tuna maybe and like a rancid beer can, something under your nose while you listen to the album, then you'll be able to believe that you were in Cleveland while you were listening to that album. Then it's the same thing. Just close your eyes, rancid can of tuna and nasty beer on the floor, and you were there.
So that's track 9 of side A of the Heavy Metal Mixtape. And before the next track, we get another classic movie sample. A horror classic from 1985, Return of the Living Dead.
Return of the Living Dead. Brains? One of my favorite movies of all time. Classic punk rock horror movie. You know, there was a lot of heavy metal happening in horror movies in the 80s, which we obviously love. But this one definitely went the punk rock route, and it's really cool. There's a really great soundtrack with it, too. But I highly, highly recommend this movie. You could probably skip the sequels, Return of the Living Dead 2 and 3. This has nothing to do with Night of the Living Dead, except for there was some kind of licensing split with George Romero and the other parties that owned the name Night of the Living Dead. So George Romero is not a part of this, but nonetheless, it's a genius film. It really is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. It's got to be in the top 10. And this scene, especially, no spoiler alert, you'll have to watch it. But it's all about brains.
Classic clip from a classic movie. I also love all these Living Dead or of the Dead movies. Dawn of the Dead is probably my favorite. What actually happened with those movies is Night of the Living Dead from 1968, the original black and white classic. That was co-written by George Romero and John Russo. So after a few years, the two of them, they split and they each made their own separate series of sequels. So the Of the Dead movies are Romero and the Living Dead ones are Russo. So it's kind of cool that there was one film and it kind of branched off into two directions, like a super dark series of sequels and a kind of comedic series of sequels. Return of the Living Dead is also the film that kind of invented this whole notion of zombies eating the brains. Like before that, they just ate human flesh. So pretty cool clip to stick in there. So from a horror movie to a song that's titled The Horror. Next up is the band Satan's Hallow with The Horror. So Satan's Hallow from Chicago, Illinois. This song was released as a single in 2015 and then eventually on a full-length self-titled album in 2017. It's a pretty cool band. They have a really cool logo. And a great singer, Mandy Martello, is the lead singer. I love her voice on this one. And unfortunately, this band is no more. They released that one album and broke up, almost immediately after. Their guitarist and primary songwriter moved on to another band, but the 4 members of this band have moved on and formed a new band called Midnight Dice. And they have a 4-song EP out called Hypnotized. Here's Rusty from Satan's Hallow.
Hey there, this is Rusty. I'm the drummer of Satan's Hollow. The band was formed in 2013 and I joined a year later. The mastermind of the band was really Von Jugel. He played guitar and wrote pretty much every song and was the creative visionary for the band. Our mission really culminated in April 2017 when, on the same day, we played our final show at the Keep It True Festival in Germany, but also on that day we released our debut album, which had all the songs that we had. There was nothing left besides a cover song that we never finished recording, and probably never will. After that, before that, Von Jugel moved away, even as the record was finished recording. And so we really couldn't continue on playing his songs. So the band really ended then, and the rest of us decided we wanted to keep on playing, so we formed Midnight Dice and rolled on.
Yet another one of my favorite tracks on this comp, Satan's Hallow. This band was awesome. A really cool band out of Chicago. They kind of came out of nowhere. We had known some of the guys in this band because they were just part of the local metal scene in Chicago. We had met them at the Ragnarocker Fest, and I wasn't even sure if any of those guys were in any other notable bands at the time, but I mean, they were just, they kind of just came out of nowhere, and they were really great, and they were fronted by this girl, Mandy Martell, and I don't even think she ever sang with a band before. I could be wrong with that, but she was incredible vocalist, and these songs are they're just so good. She actually did a duet with me on the Night Demon song Save Me Now when we headlined Chicago in June of 2015. I believe that show was at the Livewire Lounge, and Satan's Hallow was the opener. That was a really fun night. I mean, it's just a shame that this band was so short-lived. They kind of imploded at the core. Not necessarily anybody's fault in the band. I just think things like this kind of happen. The cool thing is that they've got those members have a new band called Midnight Dice, which is really awesome. But nothing's ever going to replace the soul album that this band put out, Satan's Hallow. Their full-length debut is just really, really good. I think it's just a huge loss to the scene and the world of heavy metal in general that this band is not around. But again, I mean, we're fortunate that they've decided to do some other projects now.
So the band is no more, but I'm glad they were able to be captured forever on the Heavy Metal Mixtape.
I think Heavy Metal Mixtapes are a great way to find new bands that you might not have found on your own or even through your friends. So anytime I get a mixtape from a friend, it's a pretty good day. I also like making mixtapes, and in particularly, I'm always listening to things on shuffle or putting my entire collection on shuffle and finding those rare instances where songs really work well together, really good transitions. So that's something I like to do. I also run a record label that really specializes in cassette tapes, and so I like to make my own mixtapes here, kind of custom here and there, and just randomly put them into the orders that come in for cassettes. So the song we contributed to the Heavy Metal Mixtape was The Horror, and it was the version from our 2015 demo, which was on the 7-inch and cassette. And fun note about that song is that was one of the very first Satan's Hollow songs written, even before I joined the band, and even when we had a different singer, Lydia, and she even contributed some lyrics for that one. So anyway, that was one of the very first songs in the Satan's Hollow history, and yeah, that's The Horror.
So that was The Horror by Satan's Hollow. Actually, I read that Midnight Dice was originally going to be the name of Satan's Hollow. Satan's Hollow actually played their first show under the name Midnight Dice, but then they went with Satan's Hollow as the band name after that. So I guess they resurrected that name for their new band. So a great band, short-lived, but captured forever on the Heavy Metal Mixtape. So that's it for this episode of the podcast and the Heavy Metal Mixtape. You can listen to the entire tracks from the mixtape in the subscriber section on 19bit.net. There's also more info about the compilations that were mentioned by some of the people in this episode. And don't forget, there's also a very limited number of these mixtapes in the subscribers-only store. There's a very small number of them that remain. This is probably your only chance to snag one. Anyway, this was another really fun episode to do. Until next week, this is Nesbitt signing off.
Thanks for listening to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast. Head over to nightdemon.net, click on the subscriber tab, and sign up to access exclusive weekly bonus content. If you would like to donate to support the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast, you can do so through PayPal. at paypal.me/nightdemonmetal. Additionally, if you have not already done so, please subscribe, like, rate, and review the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts.
All hail, Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast listeners. This is Dusty Squires chiming in to tell you about my brand new signature sticks from the London Drumstick Company. I've dreamt of having my very own drumsticks ever since I was a wee lad, and LDC made that a possibility for me. Founded in 2016 in London, England, the birthplace of heavy metal, the London Drumstick Company has trailblazed a path through the music industry and taken the drummer world by storm. When I met them for the first time, they knew their product was going to withstand the beatings of a Night Demon show. They took the time to work with me on getting everything just right. The balance and weight of my sticks are the same no matter what, and the durability is bar none the best I've ever had. I know my sticks will last through the set night after night. I'm truly honored to work with a company that caters to their players the way LDC does. Their innovation and attention to detail is what separates them from the rest of the stick makers out there. Their custom stick sleeves are unbelievable and really make the entire presentation complete. Wait until you see the design they came up with for me. It blew my mind and was a surprise to say the least. They have all kinds of amazing swag, including hoodies, t-shirts, drummer shorts, drum keys, stick bags, towels, face masks, practice pads, and much, much more. Even if you're not a drummer, you can be a part of Demon history and order my brand new signature sticks direct from their website. How cool is that? And to top it off, the London Drumstick Company are giving an exclusive offer to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast listeners. Go to londondrumsticks.co.uk and receive a 15% store-wide discount using promo code DEMONSTICKS. All capital letters, no spaces, Demon Sticks. DEMONSTICKS. I can't thank everyone there enough for the opportunity to be a part of their family and for them trusting me with their amazing products. See you metal maniacs on the road very soon. And yes, the wood chips will be flying.
Greetings, boils and ghouls. This is your comrade, the Crypt Keeper here, reporting dead from the sanctuary of the strange. Tonight's macabre myth is a fright-filled feature, one overflowing with monsters, madness, and magic.
Visit our website at monstersmadnessandmagic.com to stay up to date on all the dark dealings within the sanctuary of the strange. Enjoy the show.
Hey Metalheads, I'm Mark and I host the Metal Forge. Let me tell you about the show. The Metal Forge features the best underground metal from all over the world. We spend every week with a different artist with interviews, in-depth conversations, and most of all, the music. We also feature audience interactivity where you can submit your questions to the upcoming guests. New episodes are out every Friday at noon Eastern Time at metalforgeradio.com or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking Podcast, a non-genre based, all-ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
Okay, metalheads, you've been complaining that there has not been a channel that plays all of the heavy metal videos from past, present, and future for years and years at this point. Well, that time is over. Heavy Metal Television is back. HeavyMetalTelevision.net is the website. Go there. You can see videos playing 24/7, 365, all the time. All the best from the old school, the new school, and everything in between. Check it out, HeavyMetalTelevision.net. It is where the metal is.